What's going on, guys? Nick here with the Bridge Group, and today we're going to go over the recently released numbers from HAR for our first market update of 2021. Stay tuned. Alright, if you've watched my videos for any length of time, you know that when we go over market updates, they only apply to the Houston market. I'm not actually talking about anywhere else in the United States. Every single market is different. So if I'm talking about figures that don't seem to match with maybe where you're living, keep in mind this is only for Houston. Also keep in mind that these numbers are always released a month later than they actually occur. So these numbers are actually from December of 2020, but they help give us a picture for how the market is doing as we look forwards to the next month. Now, the craziest thing that we can learn from these numbers right now is that even with a global pandemic, the Houston real estate market continued to be strong throughout the year. We had record low inventory, record high demand, historically low interest rates, and that means that in 2020, we were actually outpacing 2019 by over 10%. So how is it that 2020 could actually do better than 2019? The first thing is we had record low housing inventory. There just was not enough housing available for the amount of people that were looking to purchase. To go along with that, you had historically low interest rates, with some people getting as low as 2.6, 2.4 on an interest rate is just, it doesn't even make sense. But that low interest rate coupled with that low housing means that we had way more buyers looking for way less homes. Not to mention, because we were dealing with all this and the real estate market shut down for that small period of time, you had a lot of pent-up demand for people who were still needing to move. Maybe they were being relocated by their job, maybe they needed to downsize. People have all different kinds of reasons for wanting to make a move, and this low housing with high interest rates really is what spurred us and propelled 2020 beyond 2019, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. All right, so let's actually get into the numbers, because this is how we actually can formulate what we think the housing market is going to be doing in the coming months. So single-family home sales actually rose 10.5% at just over 96,000 homes. And sales of all property types for the year totaled just over 115,000. And that actually represents an 11.6% increase over the same time in 2019. This is actually only the second time in Houston real estate history that we've sold over 100,000 properties in a year. I think when the pandemic struck, a lot of people really thought doom and gloom for the real estate market. They thought that it was going to tank, it was going to be another bubble, that we were going to see a housing crisis. And actually what we saw is a lot of pent-up demand and people still looking for homes. And you had a lot of people who were just afraid of what the market held, and they didn't put their house up on the market maybe when they were planning to. And so because of that, you had these two factors, that low housing inventory and that really low interest rate driving higher demand, that caused us to have this record-breaking year. Now, what about specifically in December, which is really the last month that we can look at numbers for? Single-family home sales in December actually rose over 25% versus December in 2019. And the craziest part about it is that the strongest amount of home sales actually occurred in the luxury market, in that $500,000 to $750,000 price point, which normally we would expect to see this kind of volume in the sub-300 category, which is where typically most of your buyers are going to be. This luxury market actually rose over 80% in December of 2020 versus December of 2019. And the craziest thing is that in second place was actually the next step up from that. Those houses that are priced at $750K and up, they saw the second highest increase. And that increase was actually 54%. And then lastly, those homes in the 250 to 500, those actually saw an over 40% increase as well. The average home price actually rose as well, over an 11% increase, which puts it just over $347,000 for the average house price. Now we're looking at all these numbers and they're great because we had record high levels of sales and record high purchases, but the problem is that the inventory still trailed behind it and never really filled in that gap. And in December, we actually set a record low number for months of inventory, which is how long would it take to sell all of the houses if no new houses came to the market? And it was so low that it actually reached 1.9 months of inventory, which is a record. Now, typically, we would be looking for a 5 to 6 months of inventory in order to see what we would call a balanced market. So We are certainly in a seller's market at this point because there just are not enough homes. Even now in January of 2021, that really hasn't changed at all. Now, to give you some perspective, housing inventory across the US sits at about an average of a 2.3 month supply. So we really have low inventory everywhere in the nation, but even more specifically here in Houston. It feels like houses are on the market for seconds. They hit the market, they already have multiple offers, and it almost feels like you don't even get a chance to go see them in person before they're under contract. I've had a lot of clients express frustration at that, and that's actually reflected in the numbers as well. You see, in 2019, we were looking at an average of about 63 days on market, and typically we would say that a 50-day average is pretty normal. Well, in 2019, we were at 46 days, so a lot lower than the average for days on market, and that explains why houses seem to be selling the instant that they go online. Now, for all of my investors out there who currently own rental properties, or for those looking to purchase rental properties, or maybe you're watching this video and you're not ready to buy yet, so you are still living in a rental, let's talk about what those numbers look like. It was kind of a mixed bag. Single family homes actually were down over 14%, but townhomes were actually up. It's sort of a weird thing. Normally you'd see the reverse. Okay, so that's a lot of numbers. What can we take away from this? I always like to end this video kind of giving you the summary. Look, at the end of the day, there are just not enough homes on the market. So if you've been thinking about making a move and you have a house to sell, now is actually the perfect time to put your house on the market. You really don't have to worry about very many showings because typically you can do one round of open houses on a weekend and get all the offers that you need. I know that a bunch of the most recent listings that I personally have done, including members of my team, that's what we've experienced. By the end of Sunday, we've got plenty of offers. We pick something by Monday, and sellers are getting over asking price for their properties. If you're a buyer, it might sound like this is a terrible time to buy. And while it might be a little bit difficult just because there's just not enough houses available, the really low interest rates really kind of offset that and make it an excellent time to try to get into purchasing a home. Whether that's your first home, if you're a first-time buyer, or whether you're selling and buying. I've got plenty of clients who I've been able to help buy that next property, even in this market. So don't get too worried. Just know and set the expectation that you might not be able to just buy the very first house that you really like. You're gonna have to maybe go above the asking price, but don't worry. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help give you advice, to help give you guidance, to help coach you through the process and help you make a smart financial decision for you and your family, and also to do all the legwork and run that analysis to make sure that you're not overpaying for something. But I do want to ensure that you get the house that you want. So if you're thinking about making a move in 2021, you've got to reach out to me. I'd love to have a chat with you and your family about what your plans are, what you're thinking. Let me help you. That's what I'm here for. The Bridge Group actually ranked in the top 100 last year in all of Houston real estate agents, and there's 46,000 agents in Houston alone. So we know what we're doing, we know what we're talking about, and we are people that you can trust. Our reviews speak for themselves. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. I really appreciate everybody who makes it to the end. If you like this video, make sure that you give it a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm get in front of more people. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. I put out new content every single week, including house tours and all kinds of tips for buyers and sellers. So definitely stay tuned for more videos, and we'll see you guys on the next one.